Hi, this is Joe again with another review, and to continue my run of discussing the Rocky movies, I'm going to be discussing in this video, my last video, discuss the fifth one. This one I'm going to be discussing was technically is considered Rocky 6, even though that's when they had, excuse me, this one they had the number one, and that's a 2006 film, Rocky Balboa. Even though earlier some people call it Rocky 6, and it should have been labeled Rocky 6. And because this takes place 16 years after the last movie, which is like the longest stretch between Rocky films. And like I previously mentioned in my Rocky 5 review, Rocky 5 was technically supposed to have been the last Rocky film. And it should have ended right there in the fifth one. But Stallone was disappointed in the production of the movie because don't forget he did not direct the fifth one, which I should have mentioned in that video. John Alverton, who directed the original Rocky film that actually won the Oscar for Best Picture, came back and directed the fifth movie. So Stallone had no, except for writing and maybe co-producing it, maybe he didn't have any control of the fifth one, and like I said in that review, he should have died. It was written in the original script. He was supposed to have died in the street fight with Tommy Gunn, but he didn't do it. He lived, and he walked into the art museum at the end. He walked into the art museum with his son at the end of the film, which was supposed to have been the last, scene of the Rocky films. But Stallone was disappointed in the write-ups for the film. He was disappointed in how everything worked out. In terms of the plot didn't go the way he wanted it to, and all this type of thing. And it didn't give us a proper closure. I felt it did. A lot of Rocky fans felt that it did, even though his real life son, Sage Stallone, was in it. He acted like a little brat towards the end of the movie, but besides all those little problems, and the Don King ripoff guy in the film, the boxing promoter, but despite all that stuff, Stallone was very, very disappointed in it. It was a good send-off for the character and everything, with him going into the museum. I thought it was funny, a good send-off because, became iconic with Rocky running up the steps of the art museum. So he was fine to get Stallone after the disappointing results of the fifth movie and the box office results and everything else. He wanted to do a sixth one so he could really officially wrap up the whole thing and give it a real quote unquote proper send off for the character. Well, this movie, so United Artists and MGM, at first they rejected it because they felt that 5 movies were enough, and that time movie series were getting really, really disappointing at that time, because you had all the runs of all the sequels. Because don't forget, the year before Rocky 5 came out was like the year of the sequel. You had all the the third Indiana Jones film. You have Ghostbusters 2 came out. You had Star Trek 5 came out. And that was like just the year before of 1989, before Rocky 5 came out. So Stallone was fine to get the sixth one in, and movie studios were getting disappointed in making receipts for all these sequels. And United Artists and MGM didn't want to do it, who were the distributors of the original 5 films, didn't want to do it. No one else for a long, long time didn't want to do it. And eventually he got money to do the Rocky 6, and it took 16 years for him to do it. And he, instead of calling it Rocky 6, he called it Rocky Balboa, his full name. And this one, one of the other big problems, which MGM finally convinced MGM to do this movie. One of the problems was that Talia Shire was not in this movie. He killed the character off before. In between the 16 years of the last film and this one, Adrian had developed cancer and died of cancer. He didn't even see her give a proper sign off either for that character. So now all of a sudden he's a widower. He's still, all these years, still in the same dopey neighborhood. Now he's driving around with a van. He's still hanging out with Paulie. And of course, the beginning part of the film, you see that Rocky's going around the old neighborhood, going to the area where his old apartment was. You see in the first movie, you're down that famous street. I don't know what street it was in Philly. I think my mother knew, or knew the area where it was. But you see the famous street the street in Philly where they had his house. Go to where the gym was. The gym is still there. Mickey's gym is still there, even though it's not in use anymore. Because after all the incidents that happened with Tommy Gunn in the last movie, I guess he decided to close it up again. Rocky, even though technically it was willed to his Rocky's son, Rocky Jr. actually was willed the gym. The gym was closed again. And so was the pet shop. The pet shop wasn't there anymore. As a matter of fact, not too long after this movie, the Rocky Balboa was filmed, they tore down the building where the pet shop where Adrian worked at was torn down. Not too long after this movie was filmed, actually. So that's no longer there. Even the so-called area where the ice skating rink was when Rocky and Adrian had their first date back in the first film, that's no longer there either. So that Rocky's getting more and more depressed. He does his tour every year, I guess on the anniversary of Adrian's death, I guess. And Paulie is getting tired of doing this every year since she died. And he says, look, Rocco, you treated her good, and I treated her lousy. And he actually says that line to him. I said, look, I treated her like crap, but you treated her well. And I appreciate you treating her well. You were very good to her, but I treated her lousy. So I feel it's enough with this depressing stuff. It's depressing as it is, because Paulie doesn't want to get too depressed thinking of all this bad stuff that he done. He wanted to be a little more, even though he was a drunk half the time throughout the series. He was, he felt bad about the way he treated Adrian. And didn't want to be depressed about stuff that happened 30 years earlier. So he didn't want to think about that stuff. Of course, now Rocky is running an Italian restaurant that was mildly successful, and all he does is sit in the restaurant all the time, telling old stories about his fights with Apollo or Club Belay, and working in the restaurant was Spider Rico. Those you gotta know who Spider Rico is. He was the very opening scene in the first Rocky film. That's who Rocky was fighting, Spider Rico. He's in the restaurant. He's always quoting, and all of a sudden, he still says, "You got very lucky that night. You were still lucky. You still were a lucky bum that night when you beat me." Which he quoted then in the original movie, and now he's quoting that in this film. And of course, also you'll see another character from it wasn't the same actress though. It was a different actress, but the same character. Named Marie, who of course in the first film, Rocky gave her advice, walked her home, and she says, "Screw you, creepo." It was the same girl, and told him that she had a kid out of wedlock. She got pregnant by a black guy, so the kid was biracial. Half black and half white character. Call him Steps. That was his nickname. And Rocky decided to develop a relationship with her for some crazy reason, despite the age difference. And of course, during the thing, he had his son, Rocky Jr., working in a corporate office, who was kind of like a loser. He had a little group of friends, but he wasn't that successful in the corporate, and he ended up getting fired. Spoiler. Fired from his job. And when all this stuff was going on, you had that new heavyweight champ called Mason Dixon. I guess Stallone's not the creator of names, I guess. Go to the guy Mason Dixon. There's the line dividing the north and the south of the United States. For those of you who don't know what Mason Dixon is, It's like the two explorers who divide up the country, the point between the northern half and southern half of the United States. Those are two guys named Mason Dixon. So that's what this fighter's name is. And so he was not exactly, unlike Apollo Creed, who was a popular fighter, or even Rocky was a popular heavyweight champ. He wasn't, because he always used to fight these stiffs. Not even Rocky, when he was getting his hand-picked fighters, those weren't fixed. Those weren't that bad fighters as the fighters that made, because truly the heavyweight division now is kind of a joke in professional boxing. It's kind of like a joke now. You don't have like say Mike Tyson and Vander Holyfield and Lennox Lewis today, or even back then in 2006. It's only a 12-year-old movie now. Even in 2006, the heavyweight division is going to be another complete joke. The way it is now, and so Mason Dixon says, "Oh, what the hell am I going to do? It's something I can do. It's no good competition. It's not my fault they're kicking these guys' asses." So ESPN decided to do this thing with a computerized, a fictional computerized boxing match between fighters in the past who were in the prime versus current boxers, and they did that with Mason Dixon versus Rocky Balboa. And of course, during these simulated boxing match, it's like computerized boxing. It's like if you were playing a computer game, and like a Mike Tyson knockout game. You fight Mike Tyson versus like you're fighting Mike Tyson. Same thing here. It's like but between Rocky Balboa and the current champ, and the Rocky beats him in a computerized game. So Rocky saw it. Paulie saw everybody around Rocky is talking about. So maybe we should get back to boxing, and maybe fight the champ in an exhibition match. And that's when and the champ Mason Dixon got the idea too. So let's challenge him to a fight. But the problem is they kind of forgot knowing that Stallone wants to forget about Rocky 5. He wants to forget all the subplots of Rocky 5 as well, including the part that he's supposed to have brain damage in Rocky 5. So he's supposed to have brain damage. After the fight they had with Ivan Drago in the fourth film. So they kind of written that part out. That's what the problem they had. The other problem they had with this movie, not just that Adrian got killed off, but they kind of written out that Rocky's supposed to have brain damage. Irreversible brain damage. They kind of written that stuff out for Rocky Balboa. They didn't make any reference to that at all in this movie. None. Zero. So even though Rocky passed all the requirements, they left out the stuff they're supposed to have brain damage. I mean like an insult. It's like I said, like you just said, the Stallone completely want everyone to forget about Rocky 5, especially that particular plot device of Rocky supposed to be having brain damage. So, make the long story short, they do get to the fight, and they even brought in the only other character they brought in for the original film was Tony Byrne, who of course was originally Apollo's trainer, and then eventually became Rocky's trainer after when Burgess Meredith or Mickey died in the third film. Trained Rocky, and of course it was also the last appearance of Tony Byrne because he passed away not too long after this, within like a year or two after this movie came out. Because he was a middleweight champ, Tony Byrne. No joke. You can look it up on Wikipedia if you don't believe me. And of course they got the fight, and the result of the fight was exactly the same as the original fight that Rocky had with Apollo Creed. There was a split decision, and Mason Dixon won. But there's one slight difference compared to that. The ending of Rocky won in this one, and the ending of Rocky Balboa was supposed to have been the ending in the original film, with Rocky walking after the fight was all over, exits the ring, walks up the aisle, and he holds a hand. Supposedly it was supposed to be Adrian's hand in the original film, but here it was just maybe Marie's hands in this film. And he walks up the aisle, and that's it. But he does have this long, drawn-out wave goodbye to everybody, to all the Rocky fans out there, people who are watching this movie, waving goodbye. This is the end. This is the end. The end of the character finally. And then, of course, after that, you see Rocky back in the cemetery by Adrian's grave, saying, "Yo, Adrian, we did it, baby, we did it." And then he puts the chair away up in the tree, and then he just waves against the camera, and the character just slowly fades away. And that was the end of the movie. Of course, this movie did end a spin-off, which was the movie Creed, which I previously reviewed, so I'm not going to review that one again, because I have reviewed Creed previously. So check out that video if you haven't seen it. But as for Rocky Balboa, even though they had all those problems that I mentioned, it was not, some lousy plot points, especially killing off Adrian without physically seeing her die. And also, them, Stallone weighing out the fact that Rocky was supposed to have brain damage. They read that point out. It's like they completely ignore what happened in the fifth movie. I think they went from Rocky 4 to Rocky Balboa without ignoring Rocky 5. I mean, that's what Stallone did in writing the screenplay for this movie. So that's the two biggest problems I have with Rocky Balboa. But other than that, I mean, it could still, if it happens to be on, I could sit down and watch it and not have a problem, watching this film, because it is entertaining. For Rocky, Stallone is a pretty good screenwriter, and he did direct this movie. So again, once again, he was except for I think 3 of the films, the Creed movie, the original film, and Rocky 5 were the only 3 movies that Stallone didn't direct. He directed all the rest of them, and he did a good job. At least he did a good send off. But I thought they had a better send off in the 5th one than this one. Even though the street fight scene, Tommy Gunn was kind of silly and over the top stuff, but at least that was supposed to be the last one. But making this one 16 years later is just really, it's really terrible. And I mean terrible because they ignored the continuity from the 5th movie. That was the problem that I had. But other than that, I mean, I can sit down and watch it. I mean, I do recommend this movie, especially for Rocky fans, and I consider myself a Rocky fan. But the ending for the 5th movie is definitely better than the ending for this one. Because, technically it was supposed to have been the last one, Rocky 5. And I think that because Stallone was, like I said earlier, he was just disappointed in the 5th one, so he made this one for a proper ending. So that's my review of Rocky Balboa. Please click on the video, please rate it, feel free to comment on it, please subscribe to my channel, and please forward this video onto your Facebook pages. You can check out all my reviews now on my YouTube channel at rowdyc.com, so WDY.com. The homepage is about reviewer, Chris Lee Moore, and please check out all of his videos on his website as well. Thanks you for watching, and catch you next time.